Afternoon and welcome everyone. Welcome to this new session of the CHIP Think Tank webinars. So the CHIP Think Tank is a series of webinars which is brought to you by aCCCess, which brings you insights and reflections on the semiconductor industry from European opinion leaders. And today we are pleased to welcome Pieter Klinkert, who is partner and co-founder of PhotonVentures. Good afternoon, Pieter, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
So all the sessions are recorded, this one included. So all the sessions are uploaded on our YouTube channel. They are accessible. If you missed one of them, you can still have access to the information. Just scan the code and connect to the YouTube channel. So this is an interactive discussion. We have two ways to communicate. We can use the chat, which I will open now. Okay, so now you have this little icon which is open, and you can use the chat to say hi or to comment during the presentation. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate also to use this question mark here, and we'll take the questions as they come. I'm Regis Hamelin, I'm CTO of BLUMORPHO, and I'm coordinator of the aCCCess initiative. And we are today talking about photonics as Europe's next semiconductor frontier with the investor perspective from Pieter Klinkert. So a few words about aCCCess. We are a consortium supported by Digital Europe. We are funded for 4 years. We are already running for 1 year. And we are supporting a network of CHIPS competence centers. You can see here the 30 competence centers which have been deployed during last year in Europe. So you must have one competence center in your country. And of course, we are connecting all these people together with the pilot lines and also the design platform EuroCDP. So an announcement, we are organizing again the CHIPS Venture Forum. It was already an event that we held in 2025. The objective is to connect the startups of the European startups in semiconductor with deep tech investors, just like Pieter. Pieter will be part of the jury, will participate. This is an event which is organized by aCCCess in partnership with EIC, the European Commission, the DG Connect, and EuroCDP recently joined the initiative as well. So there will be, we already hosted one event. It was 150 participants for the final. There will be 2 locations this year, one session in Bordeaux, one in Munich. And you are welcome to apply. We are expecting between 50 to 70 startups, and more than 70 venture capital investors have already confirmed their participation. So again, 2 events. The selection will be in Bordeaux. So here we will have about 50 to 60 startups. And on stage here for the final in Munich, there will be 20 companies pitching on stage, but all the companies are participating to the 2 events. This is a great opportunity for you to create a connection with venture capital investors. So if you are interested to participate, just drop us an email or contact your competence center. If you are a startup and you want more information about the CHIPS Venture Forum, my colleague Radia is going to organize, there's a webinar organized by BLUMORPHO, and my colleague Radia is going to hold this webinar on Thursday between 1 to 2 p.m. and she will answer all your questions. Another announcement in photonics, the pilot line PIX Europe is organizing an industry ecosystem building day. It will be on the 21st of May. It's a full day in Barcelona. You can connect through the PIX Europe website. And this is a sneak peek on the agenda. We already have 3-5 Labs, ZEISS, Smart Photonics, Alter Technology, and Nokia Bell Labs would confirm their participation. So I'll let you the QR code. You can connect through the QR code to register to the event. So let's start to interact right now. I would like to launch a quick interview. Explain, tell us what is your profile if you are a startup, investor, competence center, large corporates, or a research organization. So yeah, sorry. We have about an equal participation between startups and competence center. So thank you very much for this. I can let the interview. Okay, so you can see that we have about 40% of competence centers and 30% of startup, a little bit of investors, just one large corporate and a few research organizations. Okay, so I have another poll for you very quickly, which is, do you intend to apply to the Chief Venture Forum? This is more a question for startups. And if you need more information, of course, you are welcome to reach out. Okay, so we see that people are still. Some people need more information. Some people need to be connected to their competence center. So the best for that is to send us an email or to connect to the webinar on Thursday. So let's close the poll and let's come back to the discussion. So, Pieter, welcome again. Thank you for being with us again today. I wanted to share a few insights about photonics, but let's start with PhotonVentures. So, can you tell us a little bit how you are co-founder of this fund? Can you tell us a little bit on how you created the fund, how it all started, basically?
Yes, of course. First of all, a pleasure to be here. If you look at PhotonVentures, we are a spin-off of Photon Delta. And we started PhotonVentures together with my two co-founders, David Roos and Joachim de Sterke. Both founded Photon Delta, and Photon Delta was meant to be an accelerator, or is an accelerator, of the integrated photonics ecosystem in the Netherlands, but also outside of the Netherlands. They started in 27 with Photon Delta. I joined in 21. And in 22, we were awarded a huge local grant, the Groeifonds initiative. It's a Dutch initiative to promote key technologies in the Netherlands, and integrated photonics was conceived one of them. And for us, that was time to decide to spin off the venture capital arm of Photon Delta. It didn't make sense, in our opinion, to have both an ecosystem accelerator whereby subsidies are being granted and have equity investments at the same time. So the three of us started, and first we got an agreement with Photon Delta. They became our cornerstone. We took their 12 portfolio companies at that stage, spun it off, and raised another 60 million. So in total, we were able to start our fund at 95 million, or that was at final close. Initially, we started at 60 million, June 23.
So there's quite a big difference between the portfolio pre-2023 and now the portfolio that you are the newly listed company, I would say, since 2023. So is there a difference in terms of investment thesis between the pre-Klinkert era, I want to say?
Yes and no. At one hand, of course, there's a difference. When we were Photon Delta, we were executing from Photon Delta. We very much looked at the ecosystem in general. At that stage, there were only a few companies active in the Netherlands on integrated photonics. We had a national approach towards venture capital. There were approximately 4 or 5 companies at start when we in 2017, which actually grew to a lot more when we spun off the entire portfolio. But at that stage, of course, we were really looking that the ecosystem in itself, supply chain and application, should be promoted. Now we very much look at some core technologies which accelerated integrated photonics as such in the last few years. So yes, there's a different approach, but we still look at the entire ecosystem, and of course the application cannot exist without also a good supply chain.
And you are no longer limited to the Netherlands. You are investing everywhere in Europe.
Yeah. That's of course the main difference, actually, where we first had to focus on the Netherlands, but there's a lot of activities. Actually, if you look at our portfolio or at our funnel, we investigated over 500 startups already in the last few years. So you see that the ecosystem is expanded quite rapidly.
So 500 startups in Europe in photonics since 2023, in 3 years.
We saw, and in Europe, I think we see 99% of all the startups, maybe one or two see at a later stage. But initially, because we are so focused and we're so dedicated to integrated photonics, we see them early stage, and we try to have also contact with all the competence centers throughout Europe. But
there was a request in the chat for sharing again the slide on the event for Pix Europe. So that's what I just did. What is let's talk a little bit the standard questions on venture capital. What is a standard ticket? What is the level of investment that you are engaging with the companies?
We are an early stage investor, which again also comes with the territory of integrated photonics. Although, of course, in the US, you see a lot larger tickets now, but we aim to look at seed, pre-seed, seed, and Series A investments. We try to be hands-on with all the companies. We're a very thematic fund, and therefore have an in-depth knowledge about the technology, and try to also sort of connect all the dots in between. So for us, it's early stage. Initial tickets go from, let's say, approximately 1 million to 2.5 million. We aim to invest between 5 to 7 million in total. We are able, let's say, it's not in all cases, often it's not necessary. And what our intention is also to speed up the process towards a B round, for example. By doing so, of course, you need other investors as well who include, so then the tickets for us become limited. But that's more or less our game.
So you mentioned 500 startups that you have assessed in 3 years. So how many investment are you signing every year?
Well, since we initiated our fund in June 23, we did 6 more investments in the fund. So on an average, 2 investments per year.
2 per year.
Yeah. So we try to be, because it's a very broad topic. If you look at the moment you start focusing on integrated photonics, there's of course many use cases. So then we have to be very precise again, and 2 to 3 investments per year. That's our main target.
So when you are investing in the company in photonics, are you looking for the end market? Are you looking at the end market more specifically, or you are kind of agnostic on the market and you are really looking at the technology? What is the balance?
Since we started as a pure fund, a private venture fund, of course, we've been looking more also towards end markets. There needs to be an application. Often, integrated photonics is a component of an end product. But we tend to look. We have indicated approximately 6 markets, which we find interesting, and we really look at the opportunities within the market. Of course, again, the supply chain to be able to even get to a final product is important as well. So we do have some investments in the supply chain as well.
Okay. So at the moment you have 4 main areas. You mentioned telecom, quantum, AR, VR, and of course the biggest use case at the moment is into data centers. So What are you looking for at the moment? Are you more focused on data center applications, or are you still open, I don't know, for medical applications?
We have indicated, so we are currently also, because we started already with 12 investments, our current fund is coming to the end of its investment period. And we are now we're looking at fundraising a second fund. And for that fund, we've indicated 6 areas. So we expanded a bit, but within the areas became a bit more precise. And if you look at, and all these areas are, of course, of interest, but of course, we also look at where is the first go-to-market. And then at the moment, data telecom, optical computing, is data centers. Those are the main topics for a go-to-market for integrated photonics on short term. So those have our priorities.
Good. These markets, this is a question that we will discuss a bit later, but since you mentioned this market on optical computing and data and AI, they are mostly located in Asia and US, mostly in US and also in Asia. This is not one market which is very much developed in Europe. So do you consider this as a problem for a European startup, that the market is not in Europe?
Well, I don't agree for 100% that there's no market in Europe. I mean, if you look at some of the let's say the academic competence centers in Europe, we have some very good initiatives also on optical computing and optics within computing. So, and those are maybe not all in the European Union, but at least in the greater Europe, including the UK, we have some very good examples of new companies who are quickly gaining ground. Of course, the real investments within optical computing, quantum computing, etc., are being done in the US. We have it's more difficult to see what's happening in Asia, especially of course China. But what we see in the US, the amounts of money being deployed are so much larger than we do in Europe, and that sometimes gives us a disadvantage in Europe. But I think technology-wise, we have a very strong position in Europe.
Yeah. I'm sharing again my screen, and just to say that photonics in the news, you have some announcement every week, if not every day. And NVIDIA is very often the compass that everyone is looking at. When NVIDIA says something, all of a sudden the value is increasing for the companies, for the value chain. So we see that the prediction of, and this is coming from the 6th of April, so 2026, all AI data center interconnects will be optical within 5 years. So this is really an acceleration of the roadmaps, because so far photonics was more close to the premise, then it was inside the building with the active optical cables from rack to rack, and now we are talking to have the optics on the board, so crossing the borderline between the blade and the board. So this is really something new. They have invested a lot in European startups. There are some investment of NVIDIA in European photonic startups, but also in Lumentum and Coherent for the full value chain, of course. And indeed, you mentioned that Europe is quite strong in photonics. And when you look at the competence centers, the technology which are available from the competence centers, you can see that there are silicon photonics is the #1 technology available in Europe. Not specifically silicon photonics, we are more talking about photonics at large, but silicon photonics is a big share of that. So indeed, there is a very strong technology portfolio, and there are opportunities in this area. So let's move on with, let's talk a little bit about your existing portfolio. You mentioned that, AR, VR, AR, And I was interested to understand why you are interested. You mentioned the company Vetrealab, which is an Austrian company which raised 11 million recently. So I was interested to understand what was your motivation to invest into this company. Why AR, VR now?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. Of course, we've been considering it as well. I think AR and especially specifically VR, we're probably in our fifth or sixth AR VR hype, whereby a lot of promises and new products are being brought to the market, and will they be adopted? We did our investments before Meta, together with Ray-Ban, entered the market for the first passive AR glass. But one of the biggest limitations within AR at the moment were still the light sources. They were either not energy efficient enough, so it became too hot, and the consumption was too high. Therefore, you had little use of the glass because you could only use it for half an hour. It was too large, and it was not a product which was easily deployed on mass market.
Mm-hmm.
Integrated photonics solves a lot of these problems. So when we invested in Vetrealab, we saw a company which was able to develop a light engine small enough with little energy consumption to be able to be implemented in glasses, and to have a use case whereby for multiple hours you have the glasses with enough reflection on the glasses, so you would still be able to have a clear view and a good projection on the glasses.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the same for another investments we did, who also just recently closed an investment round of 6 million euros, so that's approximately $9 million. It's brilliant. It's an on-chip. It's an RGB. So all lasers are integrated on the chip itself.
Mm.
All these glasses, I think they solved the major hurdle, which until recently was difficult to cover.
And what do you think will be is there a specific application that will take off? Do you think that it will be more professional, or are you, I imagine that you are targeting more consumer for volume, but
in the end, yeah. In the end, it's of course consumer what we aim for. I mean, on professional use cases, there's already quite a lot available and being used. So in general, you could say that AR VR is already adopted to some level. But in this case, and that's, I think, Meta together with Ray-Ban showed that there is a market. I mean, I think there's over 2 million glasses were sold on the Ray-Ban Meta version 2. The third one, of course, recent, which was end of year of 25. It was with a single glass projection, also sold out within hours, I believe. So I think the market is finally starting to come on consumer level. But there's still hurdles to be taken. But one of them, as said, so the projection or the hurdle, the major limitation is now being solved with these light engines.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, it's in the as you mentioned, Meta made a big support to the evolution or to the emergence of these glasses, and yeah, maybe some consumer application will emerge soon. You also have some investment in the medical area with sensors, right?
Yeah, I think if you look at at MedTech, probably photonics, it has of course a huge advantage because it's extremely sensitive. So to have integrated photonic sensors on what kind of medical applications is extremely logical. We do see that, and then if you look at integrated photonics, you can even make it in size. You can make them small enough that you have a point of need application. So I think the use case of integrated photonics within MedTech is extremely logical. The problem, however, with MedTech, what we see is that the adoption of the market is difficult. It's more difficult and the willingness for innovation seems less than on general consumer products or whatever.
Okay,
So
understand.
we are very happy, and of course the impact in medtech is extremely high. So if you look from medtech, from an impact perspective, medtech is a very logical area to be in as well. But
so, are you still considering AR/VR or medtech together as a potential application market for your future investments?
we will definitely look at medtech. I
Mhm.
think we're a bit more hesitant than we were before. As said, from an ecosystem perspective, it's more interesting to look at medtech because the impact is so high. From a pure financial perspective, it might be of lesser interest. AR/VR is definitely an area where we will keep on looking at. There's still a lot of innovation possible, both on waveguides, both on light engine. So I think we're just at the start there. Yeah.
We have one question in the list. I'm going to take it. It's a question from Stevie Cordet, and he's asking, in the pre-seed round, could you share more your equity expectation with respect to the funding you may provide? I don't know if that's an easy question to answer.
It of course depends how pre-seed is defined, but let's say on pre-seed, and then there still needs to be a concept of a product where we're not investing in a pure idea. So there needs to be at least something on the table where to work towards. If there's a solid founding team and team available and roadmap towards towards an A round or a seed round, then we'll definitely look at it. In the end, our aim would be in around in total. It depends if we take the investment by ourselves or in a consortium. We would look at somewhere between approximately between 30 to 35% in total for the investment, and then because in the further rounds towards dilution, we always tend to have approximately 10% at an exit scenario. So.
Okay. So what is your latest investment? Where did you invest the last?
That was a later stage investment. It was in Encoding. They make optical interposers. It's a French company, extremely innovative, very, very good plan, very good product already that's being developed in an extremely fast-growing market. So that's on the datacom. It's the optical interposers, and there's a lot of interest in it.
So can you elaborate? Can you elaborate more about what is the product and what is the end application for encoding?
It's not my own investment, so it's a bit more difficult to really go into detail on it. But it's within chips on optical interposers, and it's of course for data centers, and it's for AI chips.
So in fact, in silicon photonics, there is very often proprietary technology. There's no mainstream. We start to see some emergence of let's say material systems, but there are no, at the moment, no building block that can easily be used to use a silicon foundry fabless model for photonics is still difficult. Do you see that emerging? Do you see this kind of fabless model possible for photonics company?
Most of the companies we look at, if it's on an application level, are fabless. So, and I think even if you look at global foundries, even TSMC, they have, of course, now an interest in integrated photonics as well to use it on wafer level photonics. So I think it's the newer materials which are still developing on foundry level, indium phosphide, silicium nitride, etc. Those are there still needs to be the supply chain needs to grow faster. But on silicon photonics, it's quite a mature supply chain is already there.
There's a question again from Tasfia Kabir this time. from the Netherlands, and actually she's giving me the perfect transition for the next segment, which is about the challenges of startups in Europe. So the question is, other than the technological challenges, what do you see are the biggest risks facing photonic startups today? So we get rid of the technology, and what are the risks for these European startups in the world?
The biggest risk for European startups on photonics, or maybe even more general, I think we have quite a scattered ecosystem within Europe. So you have to find each and deploy in each an individual market. As said earlier, the amount of money available in Europe, also from a venture capital point of view, is far less than, for example, in the US. And in the end, to do anything in deep tech, it's very money and intense, because it's years of development before it will go to the market. So it's either a tech sale or an IPO or an M&A, but then you need a product, and before you have a product, you're years further up the road to develop such something. So I think that so the public money available should be more transparent, even on European level, and the amount of money that's necessary to make it successful, it should be increased as well.
Is there a specific, because we talk about the lack of money in venture capital, but is there a specific area where there's because sometimes we say there's missing money into early stage or Series A or later stages? Where do you see the missing link here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the early stage money is often available. Then it becomes difficult towards the Series A. So people they love to invest in new technology. So seed, pre-seed, of course, it's for everyone. It's difficult. I don't want to ignore or think too easy on it, but that can be found. And then towards the Series A, you really have to show traction. You really have to show progress in your company. So it becomes more difficult. And the moment you start scaling, the amounts are so huge that it's just not available. So I think we need more money on that side. It's from Series A on, it becomes more difficult, I think. At the other hand, you have to show progress as a company. So it's also a bit of a chicken and egg.
Yeah, you need to reach the right milestone to be interesting for the next round. So yeah, we could talk about those milestones. So what are typical milestones that needs to be reached for a Series A investment, for example?
For a Series A investment, yeah, we really like to see a product and some commercial traction already in the market. And of course, it's not that the company doesn't need to be profitable or anything, but at least there needs to be interest from the market and serious NRE turnover. And so that's important. Do you have projects with potential large customers? Organizational wise, it's important to have an organization which is able to scale. It's often, of course, it's a well-known difficulty within companies that the founders often want to grow the company towards the end, but this is also the stage where you often see founders need to step aside for professional CEOs and more take a technical role. So and do you have the right financial structure in place? Can you provide the right financials? So those are important hurdles within an A round where we as an investor look at. And can we find the consortia, and is it convincing enough that this will go to a B round within 18 months and starting? That's also
because between the A and B, it's 18 months. People need to. That's really the hyper growth stage when you need to go very, very fast.
And then you have to round takes 9 months. So if you have 18 months, after 9 months, you have shown something which makes a B round credible enough. So
in fact, when you are going for your A round, you must have all the customers in line, and as soon as you got the cash, you explode your portfolio.
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
So we have more questions. So thank you everyone for your questions. The next one is about your portfolio companies. On the manufacturing side of photonics, are there any of your portfolio companies which are on the manufacturing side of photonics, like owning and operating a fab capacity, or are they mostly fabless? I think that you have some companies pre-2023 which are in this area.
Yeah, we are invested as well in Smart Photonics, and that's a foundry, pure play foundry on indium phosphide.
Mm-hmm.
They are also part of the, I think it's called the PIC Europe and the pilot line. Pilot line. So they have now they're making a 6-inch pilot line for indium phosphide wafers. It would be the first in the world. We have, it's not really a foundry, but at least it's a semi-foundry, is Lyonics. Lyonics focuses on silicium nitride. They work with external foundries, but they have some production facilities themselves as well. So yes, we are also looking at the supply chain, and then we are invested also in Microline. It's a company who focuses on aligning for fiber arrays. They can do it on a very precise level. So you have, of course, the loss of light. The loss of light is very limited. But that's purely a machine factory, actually.
Okay.
It used to be. Now they make so they shied away a bit from it. But at first they were just making the alignment material.
Yeah, that's really, so Smart Photonics for indium phosphide and Lyonics for silicon nitride waveguides.
Your target areas here in the Netherlands, of course, silicium nitride and indium phosphide.
Another question coming from Jovan Tang. How do you think the photonic ecosystem or industry in Europe comparing semiconductor chips industry? Can we have some giants in this field in the near future in the industry? So do you think that, I'm not exactly sure to which level they are comparing, but talking about giants, I think that could we have a major photonics or silicon photonics company in Europe in the near future?
I think so, but it will require also collaboration between countries and a sort of joint strategic plan going forward. And of course, a lot is happening on that end, but I think it's even one of the major goals we have in Europe is to, if you look at the semicon, I think we had 20% of the total semicon was in Europe, and now we have only 6%. The sovereignty of integrated photonics foundries is a major goal for Europe, for the European Union. So yes, we can, but it's going to also require another mindset.
Yeah, mindset of, you mean, when you say collaboration between countries, where do you see this need of collaboration? Who should talk together?
Well, I think we should all talk together, but it's making decisions who does what.
Okay.
If you look at silicium nitride, there are several initiatives in Europe, but there's at the moment room for one foundry. If you look at indium phosphide, it's probably with the amounts of money necessary to grow something like that. It's also, let's focus first on one and not try to have 2 or 3 different factories, because there's just and in that case, I think the demand is there, but just the way going forward and to really create a foundry is something which is very constant, capex and opex intense.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, there is no need to compete among European countries. In quantum, there are lots of initiatives in Europe, and the question of sovereignty is very important. And it seems that every country wants to have its own champion. Let's say that there are in Germany, in France, we talked about quantum in Finland. Do you see the emergence of the photonics quantum computer in Europe?
We are of course a bit biased. We also have an investment in Quix, so yeah, definitely. But it's also, quantum is of course a bit of a difficult subject. I think it's there's a lot of expectations on quantum. There's a lot of fear, but at the other hand, to have a real use case and also everything in line and the entire ecosystem surrounding quantum itself. I think quantum itself is so huge. And photonics has a very good possibility to play an important role in that part. But again,
when you see the very early investment in quantum in photonics with $500 million in just one company in the US, that's a little bit scary. It's so huge that you are wondering if it's a bubble or if it's a real thing, and then it's too late because there's too much money on the other side. So
please, if you are talking, I think you are about PsiQuantum. That used to be a European company, so it comes from England. So it's a good showcase of where you can lose good talent.
Yeah, that's an example. Yes, indeed. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the interactions between investors and startups. There will be soon the Chiefs Venture Forum. So thank you for participating to the selection and to the jury. So let's talk about let's say the first interaction. The companies are going to pitch in front of you for 5 minutes, and there will be 5 minutes of questions. So this is a very structured exercise. So what do you expect to see in this pitch? It's the very first time you meet this company, you never heard of them before.
It's an obvious one, but it's vision. What do you want to create, and do you have a realistic roadmap? We often see companies who produce something or want to produce something, and they're already talking about IPO and creating a $1 billion company with production areas, etc. But look what is achievable what is achievable on short notice, let's say, in the coming years, and what do you want to achieve? And that should, of course, show a lot of ambition. But did you think of all the different angles which are necessary? So do you have a clear roadmap without being it is sort of over-exaggerated? Be realistic. Also, what's possible in Europe. There's enough examples of how a startup should grow. So I don't think it's magic, but often people are a bit too bullish on what they can achieve, which is of course important, but being realistic. Do you know what you are missing in the company? What are you going to use the investment for? And which blind spots are you going to fill with the investments? And I think, but that's not during the pitch, but it's afterwards. Do you have all your data ready? Do you have your data room ready? The cleaner it looks, and the more you have prepared, the more convincing the story is. Do you have an answer to all the questions which I'm going to ask?
And very often investors say that they are looking at the team. So in an early stage company, what are you expecting in the team? What kind of profile should be already present?
Well, it's someone who's operational, who has the ability to know how he or she wants to scale the company, and then someone technical who knows all the hurdles which will be faced in the coming 1.5, 2 years ahead of you, and what do you want to achieve. I think those are the two most important ones, and the operational person should have a clear knowledge also financially. What do you want? What do you want to achieve with the money? And is your growth path, is it realistic? Sometimes you see on legal costs, it's neglected, or on salaries is neglected, or increases in salary. So it's the entire picture. But those are the operational and technical part should be filled and should not be in one person. I'd rather say that.
Typically what you say is, if I'm trying to translate, the important aspect is that the startup must create trust from the very, very beginning. And you can do that through sharing a vision and a credible pathway to this vision. Do you think that the European entrepreneurs lack of ambition?
The European founders, you mean?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure if they lack ambition, but they sometimes lack being able to think ahead. I mean, ambition is one. You can say I want to earn $1 billion of revenue, but it's more how. Of course, we as an venture capital firm, we know that the write-off of companies is substantial. So each and every investment should be a fund returner, sort of. But it's more, how do you get there? So I think the ambition is there, but being realistic, how to get there, that's sometimes lacking. It's just being a bit in a sort of dreamland.
Okay. And do you see some obvious mistakes sometimes that shouldn't be done at this early stage? What are the obvious mistakes?
Well, I think one of the most common mistakes is a founder who thinks that he or she can do everything, and that person needs to be the CEO until the end. I think a good founder knows also his or her weaknesses and when to make place for a person to grow the company. That's it goes against nature often.
Yeah, the team which is initiating or incepting the company is maybe not the one who's is capable to do the hyper growth, and these are different profiles indeed.
And often it's about fear. It's about fear that someone will lose the company. But that, if it's a good investor and if it's a good team, that should not be the case. That doesn't need to be the case.
Okay, very good. Are there any other questions in the room? I'm asking to the audience. We have quite a crowded room today, so I'm expecting more questions. So we are reaching the end of this exchange, this discussion. So I want to thank you, Pieter, for your time and for the very open discussion that we had this afternoon. So we are looking forward to having you during the Chief Venture Forum. And of course, for anyone in the room who is interested to be connected through the Chief Venture Forum, you just have to send us a message. I will share with you my email address in the chat box. So just lay it with me, and I will give you all the details, either to participate to the upcoming webinar, or to apply, and what is the process to apply. So thank you again, Pieter. Sorry for the confusion in the middle of this webinar. I had to struggle with this interface, which I do not master yet, and hopefully this will be the last time. Thank you again, and have a great day.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure, and you can also share my details if you want with people listening. So if they have questions.
Very good. I will do.
Okay, Regis.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.